Ampa Omala Olamaboro of Kogi State emerged the Deputy House Leader, while Mr. Aliyu Madaki of the New Nigerian People's Party (NNPP) was named Deputy Minority Leader. Other principal officers, may include Bello Kumar representing Ako Federal Constituency of Gombe as the Chief Whip, and Adeomi Onanuga representing Ikene Shagamu Remo North Federal Constituency in Ogun State as the Deputy Chief Whip, also Minority Whip.
Well, the Senate has constituted an ad hoc committee to investigate the back-to-back failure of every attempt of government to complete the East-West road since 2006, quite a long time. A Senate resolution followed the adoption of the motion on urgent need for construction of One Eleme PDP rivers. Mr. Barinada earlier in his lead debate said the decision of the government to seek alternative sources for funding critical national projects increased the stock of infrastructure. Well, this is said was to grow the nation through initiatives such as the private sector partnership.
That's right. He said the 7-kilometer stretch of the federal government trunk A road, a major economic artery in the Niger Delta region, which traverses the Eleme-Ogoni corridor and also connects the south-south, southeast, and western parts of the country, remains moribund. Mr. Barinada said despite spending huge funds on the project, such a critical national project, if abandoned, would bring untold hardship and neglect and exacerbate the suffering and the pain of the people. He said there was the need to consider the attendant loss of revenue that would have accrued to the government given the project's abandonment. He also said there was a presence of critical infrastructure and industries located along the road corridor, which includes 2 refineries, 2 industries that contribute huge sums of needed revenue for the nation.
Well, according to, of course, this is an issue that's been ongoing. The road has been back and forth since 2006, and according to him, consideration should be given to the detrimental effect of the abandoned road on the social and economic experience that has of thereafter. In its further resolution said the ad hoc committee would be inviting the permanent secretaries of the Ministry of Works and Housing, Niger Delta Affairs, Petroleum Resources and Finance, Budget and National Planning. Others are, of course, the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, the Managing Director of RCC Construction Company, and any other relevant stakeholder to present detailed information on reasons for prolonged delays and abandonment of the project, and of course other and in executing the project to avoid future delays as well.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a nice one.
They're also expected to provide information on measure to address socio-economic impact of abandoned roads on the affected communities, plan timelines and strategies to ensure the completion of the project within a reasonable time frame. It's also said that the stakeholders thereafter would ensure the prioritization of the East-West Road project and allocate necessary resources and support to enable its speedy completion. The ad hoc committee has Abdul Ningi PDP Bauchi as chairman, while Osita Ugu, Sharafadin Ali, Adam Soshomole, Abubakar Sadiq, Nkpigi Barinada, among others, were listed as members of that. The East-West Road be completed completely, because that is almost like the major vein. If you know the major superficial vein in the body that carries major vein that links Lagos and the southwest to every other significant part of the nation, economically, anyhow you want to say it. So it's a very, very important road, and it's a road with very, very high traffic. And let me quickly add this before we introduce our guests. We are on national TV. Between the Ogoni axis, before you get to the bridge that takes you into the infamous Ogoni youths, waylaying passengers, are waylaying all sorts of people and robbing heavily there. So the security agencies, please, if you can hear us, be conscious of that place. Funny enough, there are a lot of checkpoints, and I wonder why such activities are allowed to fester. Recall that the Ogoni people have been marginalized for a while, and maybe they are sending the whole anger out on the average innocent
aspects that I think a lot needs to be done.
True.
I mean, just yesterday we had reports that I think one of the Emmas, I think Emma of Kano or so, was robbed in broad daylight and money being taken away. So I'm like,
Terrible.
if such a palace can be robbed in broad daylight, what are you saying? So a common Nigerian who does not have security guards and the rest, what is ongoing? What is happening? So questions need to be asked. So quickly, let's get to our guest, of course, who has been on
Yes.
standby waiting to join the show.
All right. Our guest is going to be joining us virtually from the city of the oil-rich city of Warri, and I'm speaking about no other but Honorable F.P. Odomo. I know he has a third name, Sylvester. Honorable F.P. Odomo is a public policy analyst, a broadcaster, and a security consultant. That is his new-found love. F.P. Odomo, can you hear us clearly?
I think we're having some network issues, so let's see if we can reconnect with him and, of course, get to talk. But
Right.
Coming back to talk about the East-West Road, let's take our minds back to our previous administrations where this road had been, of course, assigned for construction, and then nothing has been done. And of course, the East-West Road, like you've said, is one of the major roads that links. Of course, I think it's a major road that, if you talk about, if you want to go to find, check the economic benefit of that road to the nation as well, I mean, you have a lot to say about that.
Of course. The East-West Road was a project, I think the Obasanjo administration, immediately after 1999, attempted, to begin some kind of dualization or widening of the road because the administration then understood the importance, the economical and societal importance, of that road. And then constructions to a reasonable extent started. But the real major taking off of that road was done under the administration of Dr. Ebele Goodluck Jonathan GCFR, who is the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then I think the minister then, I can't remember his name again, but I know currently now he's from the Edo Central part of Edo State, and is currently attempting to vie for Wheeler axis, from the Okene axis towards Edo State, just, before what do you call it, Uhode local government, coming straight, through Benin City. And Ono Limeme, that's his name, the former minister Ono Limeme. However, before he had finished what he had marked out, the administration ended. And then came the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari.
But there's one thing about, project you're supposed to continue, and you'll know that this is a major project.
Yeah.
It's economic benefit to the nation, and of course, what the nation stands to gain. This is a project that should be quickly looked into, and not something that should be abandoned. West Road. You see lots of accidents, auto crashes. On one of that particular one of the occasions, there was an auto crash.
It's
The last part, like
terrible.
they robbed everything, taken away from dead people. So this is away from walking on the road, security aspect. I know there are so many checkpoints on that road as well, but also not just walking on the road, but also take.
From that region of Nigeria, have raised that motion for consideration of a continuation of the maintenance of that road. That road was never finished. Even between Delta State on your way to Port Harcourt, that part was also abandoned. If you go to the Ekpoma axis, you also find out that the thing is not complete.
And
that road is very
significant.
significant. Yeah, the road is very significant towards the east. It's very significant towards the south, and it has pointed this out. Now I expect the executives, immediately after constituting all the ministers, should commence work on that road as soon as possible, because recall, majority of the Nigeria that goes through the south to other parts of Nigeria.
Okay, quick one, check, and we'll go on a short break and we'll come right back. Of course, I guess should be reconnected and we'll talk better. So do stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll go on a short break. We'll be right back.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president, organized and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the attempted murder of Hebrew?
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll...
Nigeria, legally speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian, from issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security, and much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
right, welcome back. It's still the program, The Law of the People and Governance, here on Spectrum Television. And of course, in case you're just joining us, then we've been discussing some issues. The last one is about the, of course, report that Senate has probed the non-completion of the major road, that's the East-West Road. And of course, we'll also have stories here in Akwa Ibom State that Pastor Omoino has flagged off construction of some roads, and of course, including the one he in his campaign promised on it within his first 100 days in office. And away from that, the major story making the rounds, of course, about little 19-year-old Mesoma alleged forgery of the UTME result. This is one of the stories that has sparked so many controversies, but I'd like to, talk a little result. But on a second thought, I said no. Getting the result, this is how she got it on the JAM portal and everything. So, some things you actually go through as a child.
Probably there are some kind of benefits from state government,
okay,
or even
and
the federal government
as well.
And then she comes up with exactly what these are the issues we are facing. That is not that's a forged number.
Result, yeah.
And then she, comes back and says, how can JAM say, how can JAM say that she forged, that she went to the portal to make the printing? So there's been back and forth. The father has been brought into the picture. The JAM registrar himself, took some sessions to explain and to completely disclaim her results, saying that it's a product of forgery, laying, and he was using that example that was also a part of the issues that they are facing, that people are going behind and changing, or forging results, and little did they know that the JAM technology has changed. I could remember one significant thing the registrar also said was that 2021 and that they have a different template for 2023. There were a lot of back and forth, but the truth is we really cannot ascertain, defend their stance rather than try to be a little bit sincere about issues. But we are not criticizing, of course, the agency. We know that the DSS has stepped into it and the investigations are
continuing.
Even
the Senate has said that, of course, there should be a proper probe and investigation, development concerning, of course, that issue as well.
That's
and
correct.
That particular state commissioner for information, Paul, wants to issue a statement today, which read that.
Odomo, have you joined us? Are you with us? Good evening to you.
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening and blessed day.
How are you doing? Sorry, sorry about the network glitch. I don't know. It has become more rampant these days. Have you been following some of the major stories on the national scene that we've been following? That of the plenary session of the 10th Assembly, raising emotion about the East-West Road.
The non-completion of the East-West Road.
The non-completion of it and the current state as it is. Hello.
Yes, the East. Can I speak on?
Yes, speak.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the East-West Road that's raising a lot of thoughts. Right on the top of the
that is right.
And the staff of the village, they have spent close to 300 people.
Comrade, if he's never lucky with
me about this probe is that, you see, it's not just okay to say, oh, let's start doing. Let them tell us the progress made
the relevant
so far.
Ministries.
Yeah, let them tell us
see the status,
what has been
contracts
happening.
that have been awarded.
Yeah, let them tell us what is that thing that we shouldn't do this time around. Okay,
all right, comrade, are you back?
I'm back. Hello?
All right.
Go
all
ahead.
right, you were trying to land. Let's hear you.
If you say that the federal government it can become a catastrophe for travelers. To the level of insecurity in the Niger Delta. What are you doing about you? Why you be accepting money? What happened to the amount of money? What was not judicial for you? Why was it not proved to let us know those who are proved? Why is it that those who are coming to the ability of putting things in order among.
All right, comrade, I must apologize. I must apologize. I'm not sure we'll be able to continue with this conversation. The network is really terrible, and if our audience cannot follow what you are saying, I think it's not worth it. So I think our producer should please just discontinue with the call. It's so unfortunate. We'll keep trying until we're able to get through to him. You know, issue over. I can respectfully say
he was even talking about the
decades.
Insecurity on that road, which I mentioned.
Yeah, when a road is bad, and there are a lot of things that come with it, insecurity, you know, all sorts of things come with it. But you know, when a road is properly maintained, it is West Road. I'm not sure, but I think it's more than 300 kilometers of road. But very, it's a significant road. Talking about economic activities, majority of the haulages, you know, from Lagos, majority of the cargoes that have been sent overseas, that are, you know, moved from the Lagos port, you know, sometimes from the Warri port, go through the east-west road. It's about the busiest road, if I'm allowed to, of course, apart from Lagos, you know, to other parts of Nigeria. You know,
I'm bringing you back to the statement, of course, made by the Senate. You know, the fact that I think that's one of the major points I took out from that statement. And of course, if they can find what has been stopping this road from being completed, then this time around they could always get their hands on deck and make sure that they avoid to make that same mistake and complete the road as well. Because like you said, the road is one of the major roads that we have here in Nigeria. There's a good road. Yeah. I think even people that want to invest in other parts of the nation would be excited to do so, knowing fully well that, oh, you can actually get something and get it to other parts of the state that is being linked through this road without being, I think, having any issue along the road. Because talk about insecurity, that's one of the major issues. Whenever you mention the East-West Road, the first thing that comes into my own mind is the issue of insecurity on that road. Anyway, I think like I said, the 10th Senate has started well. I think whoever raised that motion, I can't remember his name again, the motion, Mpigi Barinada, PDP Rivers. You know, the East-West Road actually goes through Port Harcourt and the whole of Rivers State, through Ahoda, through Kayama, you know, through all that side. So it's a very significant trunk A road, you know, for senators. It's not exactly, you know, to execute projects. You know, their work is to bring to the fore the major issues of concerning, you know, things that affect their respective constituents, and then they debate and try to influence or, you know, create some kind of motion that eventually could even become a bill and become an act, or sometimes bring ideas that the executive will run by. Recall that the National Assembly asked for Senate. So I think it's a right step in the right direction. It is not that constructions have not been ongoing in the East-West Road. It's been delayed. It's just been an issue of, you know, an administration comes, they commence either late or budget is passed late, and then before the administration finishes, you know, it now looks like the road has been done and to a reasonable extent, and it's not completed. I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing. Yeah. And as I speak to you now, there is a lot of reports of insecurity, just like you noted, you know, around that Itakpe axis. Remember the road construction that Goodluck also started. The Buhari regime took it up to Itakpe. If you are coming from the southwest or from Benin, so to speak, or Delta, transportation that you are going to continue from is from a very, very bad spot into miles. And the same neglect or the same kid gloves has been used, you know, to handle that of the east-west road. It can never be overemphasized. I just expect that the executive at this point, you know, should be considering massive shot that a governor is saying, okay, we want to begin to construct roads to reduce the pain of our people. I think a lot of governments, no matter the level of government, should also emulate this kind of feat. You see, away from that, you know, when you're talking, something strikes my mind. I'm like, what if, like, a set aside monitoring team? I know an ad hoc committee has been set of course, comprising of the likes of Adams Oshomole and the rest, of course,
a long list of names.
Yeah, to oversee.
And all the senators are eager. You know, it's a new Senate. It's the key officers, majority, minority, chief whips, and all that. And now the first the executive arm of government should run with it.
Is that sentence, run with it, that I'm taking, because if they don't run with it, we'll end up having this administration stay for 8 years or for 4 years and then abandon that project, and then the next administration comes in and of course takes it up. And then, but one thing that, okay, so something will always have to drag them back. What happened on the first sitting? What happened on the first sitting? So the East-West Road, of course, the ad hoc committees also encourage them to put efforts to make sure that that road is being worked on. And if you want to link it to talking about major road constructions, coming back to our Akwa Ibom State to see Pastor Omoino, about Pastor Omoino, you know, not sitting in his office and directing commissioner for works or essay on whatever to go and monitor, but unannounced visitation to each location is what wows me. So he doesn't tell you he's coming, nobody knows, doesn't even tell anybody. So he just sits and says, what do I have on my list? And they say, you have to say, cross this, today we are going here.
Anyway, in as mission, leaders seem to be very agile and proactive. Let me remind you, during the first, I think it was the first few weeks into the administration of His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari, recall that the first thing he did was to carry all the headquarters of all the military forces to Maiduguri, because then, when he came, Nigeria more able to excuse me, was Buhari has left. Would you really
so you think he just folded his arms and relaxed?
Because a lot of people are of the opinion that he didn't finish well. So I commend, you know, the notion, I commend the intention to want to do good. But I want to also use this opportunity to appeal to all the leaders, especially in the executive, whether federal, whether subnational or local government, to please be consistent in executing projects that will affect the average, you know, common citizen. Because government is in the first place, is doing the greater good to the majority of the people or the citizenry at the shortest possible time. That is when government becomes valuable, effective, and efficient. Rachel.
Yeah, I like the fact that you had to trace us back to the administration of President Buhari when he first started, and of course linking this. I think it's the job of the media, of course, not just the media, the people who voted local government chairs, the presidents, you know, even the House of Rep members are not working, are not bringing up motions that should favor them, and they just keep quiet and wait and say, oh, when it's second term, they're not going again. It's time for you to sit up and, of course, monitor, be the watchdog. I think one of my guests would say, hold them by their shirt and say, hey, you came here to work, so sit up and work.
Every government be accountable to its citizenry. If you look at all the things happening in Nigeria, and if you even go to the judiciary, you will know that there is a major role that the average citizenry is expecting them to play. Talking about the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal for the legitimacy of the current administration, ably led by President Bola Tinubu, and people are eagerly waiting, you know, for that process to be completed. And we know that it's going all the way to the Supreme Court. I said this to say the chamber in the National Assembly or the executive or the judiciary, there is an expectation of you know, of some kind of services.
Thank you so much, Shegun. I think this words were coming from an advising mind, taking its time to advise Nigerians. Thank you so much. At this point, this is where we close the curtains for today. We're very sorry. I apologize that we couldn't have a conversation. Meanwhile, you can follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng, and also White.
And my name is Onwese Ehinoma Olusegun. See you on the next edition. Have a lovely evening.
Good evening.